The singular most one that I see everywhere is being debt-free. Being debt-free is something that predominantly our lower middle class and our lower class try to achieve. They will do everything they can to be debt-free because they feel as if, or they've been told enough that that's the way, for lack of a better term, BS. The wealthy people in the world, business owners, the most wealthy, they have debt out the wazoo, but they don't call it debt. They call it leverage. Most lower income and lower middle class don't know the true word of leverage. They only know debt. And so if we're always focusing on paying off debt, we're not leveraging to make more money. We've been seeing in the news that we're gonna have this huge wealth wave, generational wealth, because we got the boomers dying and wealth's supposed to get passed down. The dirty side of generational wealth is that majority of that money is going into trust that the people that we think are gonna get the money don't actually have control of. As on paper, yeah, technically it goes down to the beneficiary, but they're not in control of it. Investing in traditional sense is also a crock. When we say investing, you're already picturing stocks, bonds, mutual funds, business, something. But shouldn't we be investing back into ourselves, mentally, physically, our loved ones, our memories, experiences, our kids? Kevin, what would you say if I could guarantee you 1,000,000,000% return?
Retirement advice?
Majority of all of our training has been in the accumulation stage for retirement. How many assets can I get before I retire? Someone retires full retirement of 72, that they die before they're even 80. Why am I waiting until my full retirement to retire and live my life? Retirement isn't really retirement anymore. It's just kind of like end of life care almost.
Hello and welcome to the Legacy Council by Lamberg, the show where we cut past the surface and get to the real truths about wealth, culture, and legacy. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist. Thanks for being here. Today we're joined by someone who refuses to play by the old rules of finance. Stoy Hall is the founder of Black Mammoth, a modern family office built to challenge outdated financial advice and give power back to everyday people. He's also the host of the No BS Wealth podcast and YouTube channel, where he's known for dropping unfiltered takes on money, culture, and power. Stoy's story is anything but typical. Raised by a single mom, light-skinned in a world where he never fully fit in, he turned his so-called disadvantages into superpowers. We talk about the ugly truths of generational wealth, why being debt-free might be bad advice, how bootstrapping can hold back minority and women entrepreneurs, why youth sports might be one of the best financial lessons kids can get, and why the family office model, once reserved for billionaires, needs to be democratized for everyday business owners. I'm really excited for you to hear this conversation, so please welcome Stoy Hall. Stoy, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely, I'm excited too. I'm fascinated by your journey, by your outlook, and I want to start here. You've talked about how your disadvantages became superpowers. What do you mean by that? And was there a moment where that idea, that concept really sort of took hold for you?
Yeah, so we talk about this a lot in my community, and that being the Black community, okay? I am, as you can see, kind of light-skinned. I am not dark. I am not a white person, right? I'm kind of in that middle, what we call mixed or light-skinned. And growing up, it caused problems, right? I was either too black to be with all of the white people, I was too light to be with the blacks, and you always had like not feeling where you fit in at all. Mm-hmm. But as I started to get older and recognizing like, hey, that's actually a good thing. I can go into whatever crowd, might be, the one that's on the outside, but I'm starting to learn and be a part of different cultures. And the longer we go in life, the more we do, I realized that I was building a skill set by being forced to build a skill set of being kind of like a chameleon, kind of like an amoeba. I'm able to not change who I am, but adapt to my situation that is at hand. And that thrown in with being an athlete, like those two things are something that I can walk into any room, literally any room, and do whatever needs to be done, speak to whoever needs to be spoken to, or feel comfortable enough to do whatever. And that has now allowed me to have this skill, or this superpower, if you will, of not really having uncomfortable situations, right? And thriving in that situation that others, if they've only been in under one lens or one light, they might be a little more uncomfortable because they have never been forced to adapt that much.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. That gave you confidence that maybe you didn't have before. What do you think? Was it like an introspective kind of thing? You had to look within and go, all right, you gotta figure out how to make this work?
I don't know. As I reflect back on it, probably, but being young and dumb and not knowing
Yeah.
that in college, right? I think it was just, I'm just gonna go get this done, right? Like I might be uncomfortable, but I'm not as uncomfortable as the other person. So I'm
Right.
just gonna go do it. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, I learn from it, right? And I think that's just part of it. I've had very great coaches growing up all the way through college. And so I think part of that is from that too, right? I took that same philosophy of just like fail and figure it out to my everyday life using the tools of which that I've been born with. And so I think that's more of it. Even if I tried to introspect and look at it, I think that's the best I got. Because again, young and dumb when that switch flipped for me.
But it's interesting to me because that's not always easy for kids, for young people to flip that switch, to really have that sort of a, whatever you want to call it, a come to Jesus with yourself, that moment where you have to really think about that kind of stuff, whatever that is in your life. Do you feel like anybody in particular, you mentioned coaches, were there people in your life who pushed you in that direction? Did you feel like you found that on your own, or how do you feel like you got that sort of perspective to be able to look within and do that?
It's a good question. I don't think I've thought about it this way. But I would probably say from all of those perspectives, right? I grew up with a single mother. Dad wasn't in the picture. She worked 12-hour shifts. So I was also forced to figure it out there. But with my grandparents and my friends' families and having great coaches, I think I took the mindset of I got to figure it out, but was guided so well that it turned into a positive, right? I've got a lot of friends who were in the very similar situation as me, aren't where I'm at, right? Some of them are dead at this point. Some of them went to the drug game. Some went to gangs, like, right? So I think I just got very lucky with the people around me while having the mindset of like, you just got to figure it out because there's no one else to help you unless you sit down and just figure it out for yourself.
You mentioned that you were raised by a single mom. Has identity, culture, has that influenced the way that you talk to clients about money, about wealth?
I do. And it does a lot because I grew up with single mother who was always trying to make money so I can go to sports and do all of those things, but wasn't always at every game, wasn't at practices, right? So like you had to trade time or money, right? And that's really what we do. And that perspective, when I talk to people about it, and you might have a personal story, usually those are very similar. Might not be exactly mine, obviously, but you usually have some loved one, some parent that is gone working or doing something to provide for you. And that's kind of an old school mindset, right? And so we talk through that. And now today's mindset, or what everyone talks about, is we want to create memories with our loved ones. We want to be known and be there and not always have it be like, oh, yeah, dad worked for 46 years and then had a heart attack 2 years later, right? We just don't want to be known that way. And so it helps jumpstart that conversation because we all have a very somewhat similar situation of one parent or something being not around, and that's what we remember. But we don't remember like being poor or not being able to, only eat ramen. Like that doesn't stick with us as much as the fact that, my mom missed all these games, right? This moment in time, I knew she wasn't there. That matters more. And so you're seeing a shift for everyone financially to shifting into that mindset.
You're right about that, it is different nowadays. It really is. I mean, even for me, like when I left my day job and decided to go off on my own and do my own thing, one of the things I love about it, you met my son briefly before we hit record. I like the fact that he's got some school function this Friday morning and I can go. I don't have to check in and make sure I can take time off work. I don't need to work anything out. I just clear my schedule and I go. And I want to be there for this because it makes his day. The fact that he sees me and mom there rooting him on at his little foxtrot run that he's doing, he loves that stuff. And so but you're right, an old school mentality was, hey, I got to work. You're just gonna have to do your little foxtrot on your own. It's just that's how we grew up, I feel like. And that shift, it can't be a bad thing. I feel like it's got to be a good thing. I mean, certainly there's people who go too far and are doting over their kids too much, but I do think that's got to be a good shift.
Yeah, I would hope it is, right?
Yeah.
I guess we won't know until our kids are our age and
Yeah, I
figure
guess you're
it out.
right.
But it's got to be. It's got to be a little better, and I think that's just naturally what happens in generations, right? We all try to be a little better than our parents in some respect, but I think that's our generation's like that's what we're holding on to right now.
I think you're right. I saw that you lost your mother in 2021 or 2021. Did that loss kind of help to shape or reshape the way that you think about legacy, about family wealth?
No, not really. Honestly, my mom was an alcoholic growing up, so I already knew at some point that's how she would pass, right? Like I knew at some point, some age, that's what happened. And that's what happened at the age of 50 for her. And so like it didn't change my opinion or shift of how legacy and estate stuff goes. What it did is it provided me an outlet emotionally to be tied to that situation, right? So in my mind, I knew that she was somewhat already dead, but was living at the same time, and that has its own baggage we could discuss at some point. But I then actually got to feel that loss, and now I use that as kind of that barometer of what people are going through. And a lot of our, luckily I don't have a lot of clients that have gone through that, but it allows me to get emotional in that conversation of why we need to set up your legacy the way we set it up is because I know what you're going to go through, and you don't want to have to go through that and be disorganized at the same time. And that's where usually you see families fight or emotions spew and things go crazy, is because they're trying to do it all at once while grieving. And we're humans. We need time to grieve, not time to be thinking about making decisions that hopefully should have already been made by the loved one, and then you can just grieve.
Yeah, that's a great point, because that's the thing, that it's like you're setting up your estate plan for less about for you and more for everybody else that come after you and what you want to do. And that's, I think, a perspective that not everybody has. I want to get into that, but before I do, I wanted to touch briefly, because you mentioned being involved with youth, or being growing up in youth sports. You said before that you're a football coach. I saw that you had a video up on YouTube about talking about the value of youth sports. What do you think that sports taught you about teamwork, failure, discipline, and how do you let that shape who you are today and how you coach young people?
Sports do this really, really cool thing of making us mature at a very fast rate, because you are put into situations that you wouldn't be until later, until you're an adult, right? Let's think through those things. One, you have to make a decision on your own, and if it's a bad decision, people are going to know. If it's a good decision, people are going to know, and then you got to go home and live with yourself, right? There's going to be failures and successes, and every day is different, but you have to show up every day. Those are all things that as adults we talk about. Well, sports is the same exact way. And when you do it as youth sports, what it allows them to do is instill those as a very young age, which helps us with discipline and helps us future in life with all the other things. But you get it at such an early age where it won't matter as much, right? It matters to our eight-year-old. It matters to our 10-year-old. It matters, but in their brains, we don't remember that. I don't remember what I did at 8 and 10 years old on the field.
Yeah, totally.
There's no
Yeah.
way. Right?
Yeah.
I'm sure
If you struck out to end a game in Little League, I'm sure I did it. I don't remember it, but yeah, totally.
Correct, but your body remembers all of those things in the practice, in the grinding, in the failures and overcoming and doing all of those things. That is what we retain. So starting at a youth side, be it very young, and going through all those things, you're just learning life lessons very young, without the prospects of when you're an adult, you try learning and you fail too hard. Now we get into depression. Now we lose money. Now we spin because we're on our own. Like, there is no safety net. There is no parents to be like, don't worry about it. We'll get them next year. It'll be better this year. Or I can get you more training, or let's go have a cheeseburger, right? Like, we're able to do that as parents when they're youth. There is none of that when you're an adult, and that's why it's so powerful to be in youth sports. And it's all sports, right? I'm not speaking just about football, soccer, or baseball, but all of them allow that to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I make a mistake, nobody takes me out for ice cream anymore.
Yeah, I wish they did.
Yeah, I know. Maybe we got to bring that back, Stoy. That's on us. We're going to bring that back. That's going to be our mission statement, is bring back ice cream. So let's talk about some financial planning, financial advice. Is there any one piece of sort of mainstream financial advice that you kind of call BS on, would like to kind of debunk, just get out of people's heads? Is there one thing that you would point to?
Whew, one? No.
All right, multiple. I don't know. We got time.
Right. For the sake of this, I will definitely focus on one, and maybe we'll get into more, but the singular most one that I see everywhere is being debt free. Okay? Being debt free is something that predominantly our lower middle class and our lower class try to achieve. Right? They will do everything they can to be debt free because they feel as if, or they've been told enough that that's the way life should be. I won't point fingers to who keeps saying that, but I'm just saying it's out there, right? We know this. That is, for lack of a better term, BS, right? My podcast, No BS, that's why we bring it up so much, is because it is wrong. The wealthy people in the world, business owners, the most wealthy, anyone who has money, they have debt out the wazoo. But they don't call it debt. They call it leverage. I'm leveraging other humans, right, employees, or I'm leveraging other people's money to make me more money. And when I invest in something that's making me more money, it's also then paying back that debt or paying my employees. That's debt, right? But when we're in the lower class or we have not a lot of money, we usually have a lot of bad debt that is actually true hurtful debt.
Right.
We don't ever use the word leverage. Most lower income and lower middle class don't know the true word of leverage. They only know debt. And so if we're always focusing on paying off debt, paying off debt, paying off debt, we're not leveraging to make more money. We're just paying off debt to get more debt, to then pay off more debt. Right. And you can see how that cycle just keeps going and going and going.
Totally.
And it's a very bad mindset. So I would say if I had to pick one of all of them, that debt versus leverage is the biggest one.
All right, how about a 1A then? Since you said you got so many, let's get a 1A out there too.
Yes, 1A. 1A to that is investing in traditional sense is also a crock, right? And I'll give an analogy and I'll go through why. When we say investing, I would assume, Kevin, you would think this too. When I say investing, you're already picturing stocks, bonds, mutual funds, business, something, right? Well, that's partial. But shouldn't we be investing back into ourselves, mentally, physically, our loved ones, our memories, experiences, our kids? That's also investing, okay? There is a return on there. It might not be a return of 10% of your money that you can see in your bank account, but it's a return into your heart, into what keeps you going and what drives you. And so it's even more important than investing in the stock market. Also, back to my analogy or my example that I always say is like, Kevin, what would you say if I could guarantee you 1,000,000,000% return?
I'd say you're full of shit.
Right? You'd be like, what the hell? But also like, yeah, no, obviously, like here's $1, right?
Yeah.
The problem is majority of Americans and majority of people in the world don't have that dollar to invest anyway. No matter what I can say or what I can get you as a return, what you could invest in, you don't have the money to even invest anyway.
Get started, yeah.
So it doesn't matter. Well, also when we talk about financial planning, it's all about your cash flow and your ability to save and invest money. Well, if you're not organized on this side, you're not mentally prepared, you have bad relationship with money, again, doesn't matter how much return I can get you, 0 times whatever number, still 0. And so that's why I say investing is 1A to our calling out the myths of financial advice.
Do you think that financial illiteracy is a humongous problem in our society, and do you think that people are hurt more by silence, like knowing nothing at all, or misinformation?
Ooh, those are 2 questions. I don't think we have a financial illiteracy issue anymore. I used to say that all the time. I think we have a financial education issue now. What's the difference? Literacy to me is the ability to have resources to go find the answers, right? Which we have everywhere now.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we have it in our pockets. Yeah.
ChatGPT does a good job of it. Like, come on, like, you're going to have that. That's a literacy thing. Education now is how do I take that and apply it to myself? That's where we're lacking in America, specifically. Society in general, but how do I take this information I have and apply it for my situation that I'm at? Which gets us into what's worse, and it's the misinformation. It's the TikToks, the Instagrams, the those others out there that aren't licensed and can spew and do whatever they want, because all they're doing is selling their courses, their spreadsheet, their you name it, their coaching, whatever it is, based upon the fact that they know you have some literacy. They just know you don't know how to apply it. So they're going to say, here's this fancy way to apply it, and I promise you it's going to give you $1 million in 6 months, or a lot of it 10,000 followers in 30 days, whatever it is, right? They're just selling you on this course, this book, this thing to make their money, but they're not actually doing what you're talking about. Because if you had the true education, the literacy part in the education, it's basic stuff, right? It literally is 1 + 1. When I work with my clients, we're not talking about their money and what to do with it. We're talking about what memories, what goals, what things that they want to achieve. And then we just fill in where the numbers meet and then be done with it, because there's only so much you can do in your situation. There is no fancy gadgets. There is no crazy strategies for 99% of us, right? The 1%, yeah, there's a lot because our tax code's written that way. But the rest of us, it's really, we're really basic. It's more about understanding your money relationship and tying it to the goals that you want to achieve, not what the media's told you to achieve.
Do you think that financial advice, particularly retirement advice, is it outdated today?
It is outdated.
Yeah.
In a sense, it's outdated. And the reason for that is majority of financial planners that are now, I guess, predominantly old white guys, like, let's be real, they're all in their 70s.
You're not wrong.
They were only trained on accumulation to retirement. Think about it. The CFP, for example, I'm a CFP, Certified Financial Planner. It's been around for only about 50-something years. Well, that's not even someone's lifetime into retirement yet. So majority of all of our training has been in the accumulation stage for retirement, right? How many assets can I get before I retire? We are now, the younger generations are being trained in the distribution stage, which means I've accumulated, I'm retiring. Now, how do I use my money that I just saved forever? And so it's shifted a lot, right? Then you throw in COVID, you throw in a lot more businesses being open. You throw in the fact that, like, typically when someone retires, full retirement of 72, I believe, that they die before they're even 80. So now everyone's going, well, why am I waiting until my full retirement to retire and live my life? People are realizing that I need to live my life now while I'm relatively young and have my health, which means retirement isn't really retirement anymore. It's just kind of like end of life care almost, right? If you want to put it that way. It's true, right? And so everyone's shifting to not saving and putting so much away for retirement, but being able to live those experiences and do those things now and live joyfully, knowing that when you reach full retirement, end of life is within 10 years, statistically anyways. And so, yeah, it's shifting. It's shifting in two ways, but that's why.
Do you find that younger people, because of what you just said, because I agree with that, like my parents were save. That's just like, they were boomers. That's all they thought about was how we need to save everything we can, sock money away. My mom was so focused on putting extra money towards the mortgage every month. Like, it was just, that was their mindset. They never did anything fun. They never did anything cool. They barely went out to dinner. For my generation and the younger generation, I feel like that has shifted, where people are like, hey, I want to enjoy myself now, which is a great thing. But do you find that it's putting people into a potentially tougher situation later on because they're maybe not focused as much on that retirement planning, or no?
It could, right? Best answer that we do in our industry. It depends.
It depends, yeah.
It depends. No, but truthfully, like, if you were to ask me, is it going to be good or bad in the future, like, for them? I don't think it's going to be good or bad. I don't think there's one way or another, because they're not living life to stop working and stop doing something. They're just living life. It's part of their lifestyle. It'll be the same way for me. I'm never going to fully retire. I'm just going to slow down a little bit, but I'm still going to be working because it's part of my lifestyle now. It's not I'm checking in 9 to 5 and leaving and it being two separate lives. We have now integrated everything basically into our lives. And really since COVID, because now everyone's going virtual, right? I think 1-1's going to be an issue because a lot of people are forced to go back. But that generation now knows I can do something to make a living no matter how long or what my age is.
That's true.
And so if you think about it that way, then there is no retirement. They won't get hurt because they're going to figure out a way to do so. Now, caveat, all those young people listening, make sure you have your disability insurance and long-term care insurance. Like, protect yourself from the what ifs, but I don't think there's anything wrong with them thinking, oh, hey, I can just continue to make income throughout my life.
Yeah, that's true too. And we talk, you and me, we work for ourselves, we work on our own schedules and stuff like that. And you're right, we're not, but for the people who are still punching in 9 to 5, I suppose that mindset, they might not share our mindset on that, as far as the fact, like, because I'm with you. I can't imagine like not working in some capacity, especially with what I do. As long as I can talk, I think I'm fine. But I do wonder if, like, obviously there is going to be a shift because there's a lot more people working in ways that you and I work, but there still are a lot of people punching clocks, or punching their time card and working a regular schedule, 3 weeks vacation, the 401k, like all that stuff. So it'll be interesting, I think, to see what that future looks like, and how you're going to have those people who are like our parents, or my parents, I should say, that saved everything and wanted, made sure that they had money for the future, and the people who might not have done that. And we'll have to see what that looks like. I don't know if we'll be around for it, but it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I don't know. But it's always been around, right? That's always been the case. There's always been business owners. There's always been, staff type employees. There's always people that always want to have the reliability of just clocking in, clocking out. Like, none of that's really changed. It's just been shifted, right? We have less of the 9 to 5s and more business owners, right? And we're seeing it more on social media. That's the thing that everyone doesn't realize, is we're in a very, it's all or nothing society, right? You're left or right. There's no middle ground type situation.
Absolutely.
Our society's always had all of the things that we're talking about. It's just a matter of, like, what does this cycle look like? Or what's the new technology shifted us towards?
Yeah.
I think we're just leaning one way, well, probably shifted more way, to business owners and having that fluidity than we have in the past. And that's really the difference. So I don't see a big change happening, but it will be interesting to see what happens with spending and our economy when it comes to that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's a lot more focus on, work-life balance, which I've seen TikToks and stuff of it's always old white dudes who are talking about what a bunch of BS that is, and, like, if anybody ever asks me that in an interview, I kick them out and all that kind of stuff. But as a general rule, people demand different things. The worker demands a different life. I think people started to realize that working 10 hours a day, 6 days a week that's not how I want to spend my life.
Correct.
Yeah. What about retirement? Are 401ks? Where do you stand on 401ks? Are they dead in your mind?
They're not dead. Pensions are dead. 401ks, they're doing some expansion, and I don't get me on the tax code, okay? I'm not an accountant. I know there's a tax code in there. That they're doing some really cool things with it. Like, they've added the Roth inside of the 401ks. They're working on adding a matching. So, say for example, I hired you, and, like, you have to choose between paying down your student loans, because we all have those, or putting into your 401k, right? There is in there, and they're working through, and I think it's 2026, that whatever you would have put in, like my match, right? My match as the employer that I would have gave you, can actually go towards your student loans, right? So your student loan payment actually qualifies for a 401k match type situation. So I don't think it's going away, but it's changing. Mm-hmm. For better or worse, I couldn't tell you, but I know it's changing, and they're always adding things, and it just seems to be like that is the primary way that anyone's going to be able to put money away, is through a 401k and having it be matched. Now, if you work for somewhere and the 401k doesn't get matched, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Go ahead and open an IRA or save your own money, because you have to have a match. There has to be an incentive for you to participate with your employer.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know what you mean, because I've had 401ks that were matched and ones that actually weren't matched. And yeah, it's like, what's the point? May as well go into something with some more flexibility, right?
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. Let's talk about your ebook, which I have the title right here, How to Become Rich, right?
Yeah.
Tell me what that title means, because I don't think it means what it sounds like it means.
No, don't you like that like lead, right? Like,
lead. I love it. Man. When I first saw it, I was like, huh. But then you read through it and you realize it's a little different. But I wanted you to describe it. Why the title?
Yeah, why the title? Because that's going to trigger everyone, right? Everyone wants to be rich. Air quotes for those people listening. They want to be rich. It's not true. They want to be wealthy. And so I go on to talk about what the difference between rich and wealthy is. Rich is all about money, right? I have zeros out the wazoo, and I can buy whatever I want. That's what people think that they want. What people truly want is to be truly wealthy, which means they can make their life choices, do what they want, they can make the experiences and live how they want, and they can give back to others, right? That's what the human body wants. That's what true wealth is. And so in my ebook, How to Get Rich, I really basically debunk all of that, right? I talk through about how you don't want to be rich, you actually want to be wealthy. And these are how you become wealthy. Now, granted, I know people, it takes money to do all the things I talked about being wealthy, but it's the mind shift of I'm focusing on the memories and the experiences and what brings me joy, as opposed to I just want to be a millionaire. Like, do you see how different that is?
Yeah, you're instead of focusing on an amount or a currency, you're talking about focusing on the life or what you can get out of it, the life memories that you gain. Yeah.
Correct, because that matters to you. That what drives every decision. Just seeing a number on a paper that you're reaching towards as a goal really doesn't do it. And then once you reach it, then what? And I've talked to a lot of millionaires.
Probably push it out, right?
Yeah, right. I talk to millionaires and I've asked them this question: when you become that, then what? And they're like, well, nothing really changes, and I just now I need to keep going, like, and I'm like, yeah, you do, but like, why did you become a millionaire? What did you want to buy or do? And they said, well, I basically bought and did stuff on the way, but I don't have anything just extra to do. I'm a millionaire. I'm like, so you spent all that time, that energy, eating ramen to get to this status, and now like you got nothing?
You don't know what to do with it?
You know what to do?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. I'm like, it's because you were focused on the money and not the journey and the being wealthy and being with your loved ones. And as humans, we need that, right? We need that emotional tie to it.
In the book, you say the hustle mentality can become a barrier to growth. Why do you think bootstrapping is overrated, perhaps even harmful, particularly for minority and women entrepreneurs?
It is because in society or in the business world, to become wealthy, successful, it takes network. It takes a team. You can't do things alone. There's not one wealthy person on this earth, and by wealthy I mean both wealthy and actually stupid rich, right? Trillionaires, billionaires have done it on their own. They've never done it themselves. Yet, specifically minorities, LGBTQ and women, try to do things and bootstrap and do everything and hustle themselves. Whether it's a trust issue, you name the issues, but predominantly that demographic tries to do it by themselves. And the problem is not one successful person on this earth has done it by themselves, which is not possible. You need a team, whether that's an internal team, external team, or just a network of people that are going to help you. You have to have it. And that's why I believe the hustle culture that we've been driven to, although I think it's dying now, has hurt a lot of people because they think they can do it all. And guess what? You can't. You can't wear all those hats. You can't control and have all of that energy be wasted because you have to do so many things if you're just one person.
It's a really good way to look at it. Yeah, I kind of never thought of it like that. That you can hustle all you want. And try, honestly, I can probably look at myself and say, I've been grinding, and I've only gotten so far. So yeah, that's maybe I need to think about that for myself too. Is maybe trying to get out of that a little bit. You also frame the family office model for everyday, or you reframe the family office model for everyday business owners. What's the most radical way you've applied billionaire level strategy to someone making under six figures?
Yeah, so the modern family office whole concept, right? And for those that don't know, the traditional family office is like your Rockefellers, right? They have so much money that everything they do is internal. They don't hire accountants, they're legal, people to buy their boats, feed their kids. All of that is not like they go hired them. They actually have a CEO, if you will, that runs all of that, and runs all those departments for them. And so it's essentially like a family office is just a small business inside your own family that is only focused on you and your family only, right? Well, that's a very high level concept of a very billionaire type thing. Realistically, you have to be worth at least 25 million to even think about starting your own, and that's going to cost you over 250,000, probably closer to 400,000 now, of just paying staff to be on that, right? A year. So that's not realistic for what, 99.8% of us? I don't know, right? Like a huge percent.
Right.
I'm like, why is that? And second of all, why can't we make it more accessible? Why can't normal business owners have some of that model? And so that's where we were like, well, let's modernize it, right? In the modern world, we have technology. Technology means efficiency. Efficiency means should be cheaper to do, right? And so we've built this model at Black Mammoth where we will be your family office, your modern family office, and we will go hire those parts when we need them. We don't have to have an accountant, a legal on staff at all times.
Right.
We're able to work with you and know, hey, this is going to come down the pipe, or if this situation happens, we've already vetted out a couple people. Let's go hire them to do that job, and then they can move on and get rid of them, right? That way we're not having all of these costs. And so we've been doing that since 2020, and it just keeps growing and changing and modeling. That way our families or our business owners don't have to worry about wearing all those hats. They can come to me, or we're talking every day basically, and I can go find what needs to be done, hire and fire them, and we can move forward without that business owner or that family spending too much time and resources on things they don't know, and learning that, and then maybe getting burnt or whatever happens at that situation.
And you've also talked about emphasizing sort of embracing risk, but risk obviously is quite a bit heavier for minorities, for women, LGBTQ, as we stated, as we talked about earlier, because failure isn't forgiven the same way. You know, there's just a difference there. How do you help coach people through that reality?
Man, I hope I help them. Like, I don't know, right? I want to say it helps. But it's just talking through and realizing that they're not alone, right? That's ultimately what I said on any episode that I'm on as a guest, but also on my podcast is we want at the end of the day you to listen to this or talk to us or whatever and know you're not alone in your situation. There are others out there like you, and we can connect you. We can let you know about their stories to help you through whatever that situation may be, but for you to understand that, like, just keep going forward. And if you just keep going forward, you're going to get out of that situation. And so I hope it helps them, right? That's our whole job. I've been told it does, but ultimately it's always about letting them know they're not alone so that they can just keep taking that next step. And we all know in anything in our lives, time heals. Mm-hmm. And so just continue on. You're going to be successful. It's going to heal. It's going to get better, or whatever your scenario is.
Is that divide? You know, obviously we're in such weird times now. I mean, I guess you could say that in any era, but things feel a little weird. Are things going in a positive direction or a negative direction in your mind when it comes to the disparity between white male business owners and entrepreneurs and people who want wealth versus everybody else?
It's a tough question. And the reason for that is there's, I don't want to call it a movement, but in the minority sense, they're going more private and going more quiet. So you don't see it as much, right? And so there's a lot of underground railroad type stuff going on where there are giant groups of minority business owners that are very wealthy that are only supporting each other, right? But they're doing it in a quiet sense because of our society, right? Let's be real about it. Whereas on the flip side, the old white dudes, they are very loud with it, right? They are in the media and publicly. So if you just look at it on the front of the media, you're going, oh, well, yeah, there's a giant gap. It's not as big as it seems, but it's because we're being quiet.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Oh, I love it too, but also I don't like it at the same time. Why should we have to feel that way to do that?
Yeah.
And that's where I think that part's getting worse, right? The gap might be tightening, but it's because it's being quiet. But because we have to be quiet is getting worse because of what's going on in our country. And that part is where I wish we would, at some point, hopefully change. But I don't see it getting better. until something magical happens, but I don't believe in magic. So I guess we're just going to keep working and trying to do what we do and provide as much voice as possible, because I do know there's people out there that don't hear that. They don't know that there's these groups. They don't know that this is this network. And that's who I'm afraid gets left behind, because they just don't know, because we don't talk about it. So I try to bring as much light as I can to get the resources out there for people to talk about. But I'm not going to be the one privileged enough to go say, hey, this is exactly how you sign up, or this is who you need to talk to. I'm just going to let people know that it's out there. You got to do more work to look.
Partially also because of the way that our society kind of puts, older white successful people up on this pedestal. I mean, we've done it forever, since I was a kid. I mean, you always knew who the rich people were, right? For whatever reason, we love to talk about rich people. Even now, you can't open a news website without seeing a picture of Musk or a picture of anybody. The guy I'm blanking on his name. Anybody, any of them. Just pick one. Like you can't. Like you're always going to see somebody up there talking. Jamie Dimon, somebody talking about whatever wealthy thing that they did recently, whatever they did recently to acquire more wealth. Is that a cultural thing? Like what? Like, and if it is, why doesn't it ever get focused on minorities, women, anyone else?
Let me ask you this. When was the last time you heard something positive about Oprah with her wealth?
That's a good point.
I mean, who knows what she's worth anymore, but she's one of the most wealthy black women on this planet.
Definitely, yeah.
And the last thing I heard is that she's buying up all of Maui from the fire and trying to make a profit on that. That was negative.
Right.
You heard about the good things with Oprah lately, right?
Mm-hmm.
You never hear of those things. They're not in the media around. They just never are. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on. They're just not in the media. Why? Hell if I know, right? But it's a problem, right? So you've got a whole population that is watching the news or social media at this point, and we just keep seeing the same faces.
Right.
The same people for your entire life, my entire life. So you're always going to feel like that minority group is going to feel small. They think their world is small. And it's not, actually, right? I don't know what stat it is soon, but I think the next census, or very soon, is actually whites are going to be in the minority.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't feel like that.
Mm-mm. Definitely not.
Doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like we're outnumbered 10 to 1. Because we've been marginalized. It's been done on purpose. Don't ask me why. Yeah. I'm not a conspiracy. I'm just looking at the hard facts and my feelings and my experience of that's how small we feel. But we're about to be the majority if you talk about minorities in general, right? We're about to be the majority. But we feel like we are a tenth of the size. And fundamentally, that's the issue.
Think about it too. Who is the real minority? I mean, billionaires. I mean, that's about as minority as you can get.
Correct.
But they're the ones that we see everywhere in everywhere we go. I mean, it's just you cannot look at the news without hearing what Elon's up to these days. Oh, he might be the world's first trillionaire. It's like, awesome, great. I don't care. Why do people care? I don't understand that. Jealousy? Just
do they care?
Yeah, that's a good question too. We always like watching successful people, right? I mean, whether it's you talk about the Kardashians. I mean, obviously they have their own thing going on. They're attractive, they're interesting, I guess, to some people. I was talking about this with a friend the other day. I don't know how old you are, but do you remember the show Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's crazy to think about that we had a show where they just talked about, hey, check out these rich people.
Right.
Isn't this awesome? Like that was the entire friggin' show. And I guess we still kind of do that. We just do it in a different way. We do it on social media, and we do it through the news, and we do it through YouTube channels and all that, I guess.
And that's where fundamentally we have the biggest disconnect with our own money.
Right.
We are trying to live someone else's life via social media or whatever. We don't want to live our life. And that's what all of those TV and the media has done, is make us focus on someone else's life and not our own. And we just keep growing apart from our own selves. And we see that in money all the time, right? How people spend their money isn't really aligned with who they are. They're just doing it because they saw it, or they're doing it, or they're doing it. This influencer's doing it. And it's like, but you don't, like, that doesn't align with you. You want to live in, Europe, but you're over here spending so much money on a Gucci bag, like it's not aligned with what you want. And that's, I think, a lot of why we see it so much is because people don't want to focus on living their life. They'd rather live vicariously through the Kardashians, for example.
Yeah, I mean that's an excellent point. Yeah, it's I mean I joke with people, I have friends who are just like, I don't know how you can watch sports all the time. How do you watch sports all the time? I'm like, it's a distraction. It's easy. I can just tune into a game or two, and I don't have to think too much. It's like, I guess that's kind of my version of reality TV, I guess. I don't know, but like, yeah, you're right. You kind of do live, we live vicariously. Like, life is hard, right? Life's freaking hard. And I guess it makes sense why we like watching people with means and stuff that we don't have, whether it's money or ridiculous athletic prowess.
You're not wrong.
I want to hear about what your thoughts on generational wealth. What's the ugly side to that maybe no one wants to talk about?
Oh, so I love this, right? We've been seeing in the news that we're going to have this huge wealth wave, generational wealth, because we got the boomers dying and wealth's supposed to get passed down. The dirty side of generational wealth is that majority of that money is going into trust that the people that we think are going to get the money don't actually have control of. Okay? Most estates and trusts don't give control down to the beneficiary. Most of them are dictated of what gets to happen. You get X amount of money on your birthday, or I'll buy you the home, but you pay the mortgage, or whatever. And when we're talking about generational wealth, that's a lot of money. And so with that money, it's going to be controlled by the trustee. And it's usually a team of people that are going to keep reinvesting it. And so, yeah, as on paper, yeah, technically it goes down to the beneficiary, but they're not in control of it. They're not able to go do and dictate what they want to do with the money because it's been set up by the boomer or whoever's passing it down. So that's the hard truth that people aren't realizing. It's not just free money flowing to the next generation. It's going to be locked up and it's going to be dictated by whatever their means or thoughts are. And guess what? A lot of that is going into the pockets of politicians and all of that stuff. And I'm not getting political with it. I'm just saying that their friends are getting some of that money and will always do so because it's in the trust to do. What if you as a beneficiary don't believe in that, wherever that charity money is going? You don't get a choice because in the trust, it's dictated based upon how it was built. That's the dirty side that people do not truly grasp and understand. Now, I would say there's an optimism to that. There's a way to fight trust. It takes money and time, but there is a way to fight some of that. But really, it's going nowhere. The money's staying exactly in the same hands, doing exactly what it's been doing forever. You just think it's going down to someone else, and it's not.
You're just getting a little slice of it.
When dictated, right.
When you're allowed to.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Wow, so basically, in your mind, that just means it's just going to be business as usual.
For the majority of people, it's going to be business as usual.
Interesting.
Now, for us that are building generational wealth and are young or a minority that have no idea what the hell even that word means, that's different, right? For us, we're trying to just be able to give something down to our kids, the next generation. My generational wealth isn't hundreds of millions of dollars. It's, oh, hell, I can give you a couple $100,000, a truck, a car. That's still generational wealth because then you could still build onto it. You're giving them something that they can build, an asset they can build onto to help their life, that hopefully the next generation then gets something even more, and you can start to build generational wealth, right?
Yeah.
That's different than what we're seeing from a shift that already has a generational wealth. Those are, I wish they were different terms, but that's kind of where we're at in society. We have those that have it and those that don't. And
is it kind of like an old money, new money thing, kind of too? Is the old money the one that's just been in the system and is just going to keep doing the thing, and the new money is people like you, people that want to grow, people that want to help other people grow wealth to pass down to their family and start anew?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
a great point.
Okay. That's interesting. Is there a structural change that you think could make a big difference for Black generational wealth? Because obviously you can go back and look at how cities were structured to keep Black people from having the same opportunities as far as gaining wealth, gaining property, gaining whatever. I mean, you can go back so far and see this, and it hasn't really gotten much better. Is there a shift that could happen? And what, if there is, what would that be?
I would say there's two things that I think if we changed today or highlighted more today with our conversation that was made more mainstream could start to see a shift in the right direction again. One being that we get more people like me that are successful, that are black, that can talk about this more, right? And be the face that people can listen to, because then they'll actually trust the education that they're getting and start to make the proper decisions. So if we could do that starting today with this one, then we're onto something, right?
Okay.
The second would be getting specifically the black community to understand that to fast track generational wealth, right? To try to get ahead faster than saving $1 at a time is life insurance, and getting as much life insurance on yourself as possible, right?
That's interesting.
Because that's the guaranteed way to get money in your family's pocket. I can guarantee you're going to die, right? Let's be real. We're all dying.
Well, yeah. Well, I was seeing AI's doing amazing things, Stoy.
Let's back up. As of right now, life insurance is only tied to you as your physical being. Okay.
Okay, got it.
But
Good point.
So life insurance, right? If I go get a $2 million policy on myself and I die, my family now has $2 million. That's a very fast track into generational wealth.
Yeah.
And then I can dictate in a trust and how things go and all that stuff. So if we could really combat the fact that we need to be having the right people out there in the media being seen and shown that it's possible to do these things for the black community, minority community in general, attached life insurance to it, and not just giving up your life insurance proceed or your stop paying on your premiums because you overspent on something else, but actually truly using it to the end and getting $2 million on people, then we'll actually start to see a shift and an exponential shift, right? We'll be able to see it go faster. I think it's currently happening, but it's at a slow rate, and historically speaking, it's been at a slow rate before, and then some major happens and we go back in time. Mm-hmm. I think the way to avoid back in time is going to be that life insurance, and then having more of us being able to speak and show that, hey, it's possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an interesting one, because I mean, I lived in Chicago for many years, and I mean, you live in a major urban area like that, and you really get a sense for the class divide on a racial line. I mean, it really is like you have white neighborhoods, you have black neighborhoods, and they rarely intersect. Rarely intersect. So life insurance, that's a very interesting thought, because anybody can get life insurance. Whereas trying to go through other means to try to build wealth when you're in that black neighborhood that doesn't have a lot of resources and needs a lot of updating and needs a lot of help but doesn't get it because no money's being put into it. So yeah, that is a really good point. I never would have thought of life insurance as a way to do that. It's a long play, right? It's a long game, but you're right. It is immediate money. It's a big payout, right? Whereas instead of being like, I'm going to invest it and it's going to build over time.
But absolutely, it's a long play. I mean, really anything building wealth should be a long play. True. It just has the opportunity to do something that maybe you couldn't do while you're alive, right? Mm-hmm. It's very, very hard to start from scratch and build millions of dollars, right? It's very, very hard to do so. It takes intelligence, it takes time, and it takes a lot of luck. People in those communities don't have usually either the intelligence or the luck part, right? Whether that's been stripped out of them for who knows what reasons, but they usually don't have those two things. And when you don't have two of the three things that you need, then it's probably not going to happen. But life insurance will, because you will die.
You will die,
yeah. Hopefully that means the next person who takes those reins has a little more get up to be able to take it to the next step, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the long game that everyone needs, but I don't think our society thinks too long term, right? I think we're very short-minded, and that's also a sad thing, because we need to be thinking down generation after generation, because guess what the ultra rich people are doing? They're doing that. Now, they're very selfish, but they're also setting up the fact that they want their name to be known for the next 2,000 years. Mm-hmm. The rest of us don't care or don't even think that big.
Yeah, we probably don't. At most, we probably think about our kids, but
Yeah.
maybe grandkids if you've got them, But
Right.
yeah, you don't really think multiple generations in advance. You're right. You're right. When it comes to AI, automation, digital assets, blockchain technology, a lot of this stuff is being talked about as perhaps democratizing access to money, legacy planning, helping the unbanked or underbanked. Do you think that is a legitimate possibility with this advanced technology, or or do you see it just going in that direction of just giving the wealthy even more advantages and just helping to stack the deck?
I rebuke your question with this question. Has there ever been anything technology-wise that actually helped the people that we thought it was going to help, or did it just pad the people's pockets that already have money?
From a wealth perspective, yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, obviously, you talked before about education and knowledge. We have that now thanks to technology and the internet. But yeah, I suppose from a wealth perspective, it doesn't really work that way, does it?
No, not from a money perspective. Really, it doesn't. Now, do I think all of those AI and blockchain are great things that hopefully allows us to be a little more independent and have a better chance, and I don't want to say even the playing field, but give people a chance, a better one? Yeah, absolutely. The problem is at some point when it becomes, I don't know, mainstream or whatever it ends up being, I don't know enough. I'm not a tech nerd, okay? But I do know that someone with a lot of money, if they wanted to break into it, hack into it, or make it more of a money game for them, they're going to do
They'll
so
figure out a way. Yeah, yeah, they'll do it. Yeah.
at some point, right?
Hmm.
So you always have to think about that. Like it's going to be someone's going to make a lot of money off of it.
Yeah, it's kind of like anything. Like, right, as soon as people, I was just talking about this with somebody about the WNBA. Now all of a sudden people are putting money in the WNBA. Amazon picked up the package for next year and all this stuff happening. If there's an opportunity, people jump on it.
Yeah.
Always, 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 right? And because I've always thought about that too with blockchain technology. I'm fascinated by it. I'm fascinated by Web3 because there are all sorts of things for democratization, for getting away from that centralized overlord, if you will, and giving some power back to people. But the cynic in me, the cynical side of me, can't help but say the 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 powerful people will figure out a way to take the democracy out of that. And I hate feeling that way, Stoy. I hate it. I don't want to feel that way, but I don't know that I have any proof that I should feel any other way.
We only have facts the other way in history.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you. It might be cynical, but at least we're prepared for that to happen. And I think a lot of people need to understand that that's probably the end game, but a lot of great things can happen in between, right? The WNBA being able to be and get all this money and have all this stuff, at least it's bringing light. It's allowing
Yeah.
girls to get into sports more and do all of this stuff. So there are still really good things that are happening,
It's true.
but don't think it's the best thing ever and it's never
Yeah.
not stop.
Don't think it's like some angel like coming down and like saying like, "Oh, I just want girls to understand that they can play sports too." It's like, "No, no, no, you want something out of this."
Exactly. So just know that, and I think
Yeah.
know that specifically with blockchain too, and then we can use it as good as we can until someone decides to ruin it.
Yeah, yeah. What would you say the mission of Black Mammoth is?
The mission is truly to stabilize and transcend people's wealth and go along with them on their wealth journey, because it's a journey, right? It's not a you get rich and you're done like I talked about with my millionaire example. It's truly a every day, every decision type situation, and our mission is just to be alongside with you on that journey, always through the goods, through the bads, through the personal, through the business, is to have that so that way you have someone to lean on when you're feeling alone, when you don't know what's going on. There is a team here. We are here for you to get you through that situation.
I like that. And say, if Black Mammoth continues to be successful and continues to grow, which we both hope it does, what do you want the imprint on wealth culture to be? How do you want people to think of Black Mammoth 50, 100 years from now?
As bringing the transparency and giving people the power back of what they want to do in their life, right? I don't see Black Mammoth. We're not going to be a billionaire company. That's not our goal. Our goal is to hopefully shift how our businesses, our financial planning businesses, actually treat and deal with our clients. And so in however many years you said, right, 1,500, 500, hopefully 12, I don't know, anything, is the fact that when you think of that, you go, oh, Black Mammoth was the root of getting the modern family office going, getting people to give the power back in their hands of what they want to live their life like by making good choices for themselves, and not because mainstream media or the Kardashians or who knows is doing this. They're actually doing it for themselves and living the life that they truly want. That's ultimately, at the end of the day, that would be great to be known as.
Yeah, I think that's a heck of a goal, heck of a mission. I love it. Well, Stoy Hall, Black Mammoth, how can people find you? You have a podcast, you have an ebook, you have obviously a website. How can people get in touch with you?
Wherever you guys are comfortable, I'm probably out there, okay? Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, all of it. If you go to Stoy Hall, you can go to Black Mammoth, you can go to No BS Wealth. However which way floats your boat, YouTube, doesn't matter. We are out there, honestly, and I love a good conversation. So if there's something that you see or you don't see or you want to speak to me, just reach out. Let us know. We are here to provide as much as we can to you, and we know that we only want to answer one thing with these, and that is you're not alone, okay? So know that you're not alone. Know that we're here for you. And we'll be a resource.
Love it. What's the name of the podcast again?
No BS Wealth.
No BS Wealth. It's on all the players on YouTube, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Stoy Hall, Black Mammoth, No BS Wealth. Go check it out for sure. Thanks so much, Stoy. Really enjoyed chatting with you.
Thank you.